Hey, how's it going today? I'm Skitty Beans, and today we're going to be watching Coke's secret recipe is the world's biggest psyop. And this is from Fat Electrician on his channel, The Fat Files. So I'm pretty excited for this one. I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to learn about the Coca-Cola industry, or I guess the Coke recipe and how it came about. So I think this is going to be a good one. If you do get a chance, I would appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe. It would help me out a bunch. And I have Fat Electrician's video link in my description below. So be sure to go and like and subscribe to his channel. He does great work. He knows so much about history and stuff, and it's pretty cool. He's pretty entertaining. So be sure to go give him lots of support. All right, let's get into it.
You know it's going to be a good video, and I am legitimately worried about getting sued.
Oh,
Today we're
snap.
talking about the biggest, most successful
What? Don't sue him. No, it's okay. We don't want to sue him.
psyop of all time when a Confederate colonel got wounded on the battlefield, got addicted to morphine, so in order to overcome his morphine addiction, created a new medication made out of wine, caffeine, and cocaine that he
Wine, caffeine, and cocaine? Was that the recipe? Bro, that sounds wild.
would later market as a soft drink that would become the most popular soda of all time, Coca-Cola. I can feel the cease and desist already, but we're going to get into it right after word from our sponsor. All right, our story begins with John Pemberton, a man that received his medical degree at the age of 19 years old, who would later go on to be a colonel in the Civil War and receive a saber wound at the Battle of Columbus and subsequently get addicted to morphine.
That is so crazy that he got his medical degree at 19. You know, history is wild.
War and receive a saber wound at the Battle of Columbus and
Damn.
subsequently get addicted to morphine. Being a doctor, John realized that being addicted to morphine was not ideal, so he needed to find an alternative, and the one thing he found that worked was a cola wine called Vin Mariani. Now,
A cola wine?
an alternative, and the one thing he found
Is that like still a thing nowadays? A cola wine? I mean, sounds intriguing.
that worked was a cola
What is this? It's a popular French tonic wine. I love how these bottles look. They look so cool. I wonder what's in this though. I mean, there can't be anything. I bet there's some wild stuff in here, right?
wine called Vin Mariani. Now, Coca wine at this point in time was a pretty popular
Oh, cocoa wine. So, okay, so we obviously don't have that. not like that kind of coca.
product. It was exactly what it sounds like. It was wine mixed with coca leaves, and coca leaves is what you derive cocaine from. I know what you're wondering. How much party powder are we putting inside of this wine? Great
Yes, that is a pretty important question that should be answered here.
question. Well, Vin Mariani, for example, was approximately 7.2 milligrams of cocaine.
7.2 milligrams of cocaine. Is that a lot? I mean, are you gonna be like coked out, or is it just enough that you'll be fine, but you'll be feeling good? I don't know. And it had caffeine and some other things that I cannot pronounce here, but this sounds like a party in a bottle.
Per fluid ounce, and a bottle was about 25 ounces for about a total of 180 milligrams of Colombian nose torque.
Oh.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
Again,
Yeah.
milligrams not super helpful in trying to figure out how much yayo they're actually putting inside the wine, so
Chi yayo.
I'll put it to you this way. The devil's dandruff is not just an illegal street drug, it is a medication that is used in the medical industry for certain medical procedures, and according to the standards of those procedures, the maximum dose that you should give someone is approximately 160 milligrams. And according to Google, the average recreational dose is approximately 30 to 70 milligrams.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that there's like a recommended recreational dose. Fair enough. Good to know.
So it's safe to say they're putting a lot of Peruvian marching powder inside of the wine. And
That is true, because like if you drank the whole bottle, man, you'd be on one, right?
this apparently helped John Pemberton with his morphine addiction for obvious reasons.
We're just trading one for the other. I mean, I bet it worked.
And this apparently helped John Pemberton with his morphine addiction for obvious reasons.
So you may want to ask your doctor about a little bump.
So after a while, John is like, you know what? I should make my own version of this. I should make an even better version. You know what this needs? It needs caffeine in it as well.
Caffeine and coca. Yep. What a combo.
I will not make garbage. We will produce a chemically pure and stable product that performs as advertised.
So he essentially makes a knockoff of Vin Mariani's Coca wine and then adds cola nuts to get caffeine in there as well. And his recipe has about 40 milligrams of caffeine and about 9 milligrams of nose beer. Coca leaves, coca, cola nuts, cola. This is where we get Coca-Cola from.
Coca-Cola, okay. Makes sense. It's all checking out.
Coca leaves, coca, cola nuts, cola. This is where we get Coca-Cola from.
It all makes sense now.
So he brings Coca-Cola to market, marketing it as a medication in 1866, and within a matter.
Let's see, French wine coca for all nervous disorders such as mental and physical depression, neuralgia, loss of memory, sleepless. Do you think that would help with sleeplessness? I don't know. I guess the wine, maybe the alcohol. I don't know. It seems like quite the mixture here.
So he brings Coca-Cola to market, marketing it as a medication in 1866, and within a matter of months, the county that he resides in, Fulton County out of Atlanta, passes a temperance legislation that they are going to ban alcohol, so he can no longer have wine inside of Coca-Cola, so he has to switch over and changes it to carbonated water. The problem is, taking the wine out and adding carbonated water makes the entire thing taste like crap, and nobody's going to want to drink it, so he adds a shit ton of sugar.
Sugar.
Oh, I mean, you know, when in doubt, add sugar.
More.
So he takes that to market and starts selling that as an over-the-counter medication to treat general exhaustion and headaches, because apparently it's hard to have a headache when you can't feel your face. So he sells that for...
I mean, facts. True. Can't feel anything. Your head probably doesn't hurt.
For a couple of years, and then he is diagnosed with an aggressive form of stomach cancer that rapidly brings about the end of his life. But right before his passing, he determines that his son does not want to take over the family business, so he sells it to a local Atlanta pharmacist by the name of Asa Chandler for approximately $300, which is about 10 grand today.
Damn good deal.
Now, when
Oh my God, that's like nothing. 10 grand. Damn.
Asa takes over the company, they are not making a lot of money. They're not selling a whole lot. That's why it was sold for such a low price. But he gets to marketing right away. He uses his pharmacy. He reaches out to all of his pharmacist buddies, gets the names and addresses of every single person that's getting any type of medication, and just starts sending them coupons for a free sample of Coca-Cola. And he does this in the hope that it would bring about a new wave of lifelong customers to Coca-Cola. And it was definitely him operating on blind hope and faith, not...
I mean, I would imagine that there's probably a lot of brands from back then that probably blind hope was, it was just like, you know, last ditch effort, or, you know, we're living on an idea and a dream, and hopefully it pays off.
To Coca-Cola, and it was definitely him operating on blind hope and faith, not him being a pharmacist knowing for a fact that he was giving out coupons for free caffeine and cocaine-laced sugar water. So obviously that went great, got a whole new wave of customers, at which point he realizes, you know what, I'm gonna quit marketing this as an over-the-counter medication, and I'm gonna start marketing it as like a daily soft drink that anybody can drink just whenever they want as a...
Wait, what happens if somebody drank like let's just say 3 of them in a day? I mean, would they overdose? Would that be an issue?
I'm gonna start marketing it as like a daily soft drink that anybody can drink just whenever they want as a refreshment. You know, a little pick-me-up.
A little bump.
Now, to be fair, this is
Little bow.
not unique. There's like 50 other products on the shelf at this point in time, all basically the same exact thing. The difference is Asa Chandler decides that he's going to take a bunch of his profits and he's going to use that in marketing. There's banners, billboards, magazine ads. They're all over the place.
God, these are so cool though. I'll say the fellow who invented Coca-Cola surely knew what it takes to quench thirst. Oh, I love these. These look so cool.
And then, since he's now a soft drink and not a medication, he doesn't actually have to market all the ingredients in his product, and he just kind of like conglomerates all of the secret recipe and labels it as Merchandise 7X, and it becomes Coca-Cola's secret recipe. Which also helps with marketing, because you get to say, I have a secret recipe and nobody else is like us. Everybody wants our secret recipe.
The most important ingredient of all, 4 heaping pounds of freshly ground
Oh my god. Oh man.
I warned you.
And in
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. That's kind of wild though that like for food, I guess, our food standard back then, like you didn't have to like really disclose everything that's on there. That's crazy. Especially like when you look at stuff now. I mean, I feel like there's still hidden stuff in our labels now somewhat, but still. I mean, there's obviously like you have to like list everything. Are they to blame for this?
doing that, Coca-Cola becomes the name brand popular version of all these products, and that's the one that succeeds the most. So by the 1890s, things are going great for Coca-Cola, and then in 1895, they revolutionized marketing by coming out with a new marketing campaign known as the Coca-Cola Girls. Basically, they figured, you know what would go great with our party powder drink? Attractive females. This is
I mean, I mean, you're not wrong though. I mean, this was pretty genius. I love this poster though too. This is so cool.
one of the first cases of sex cells ever used. Now to us, this seems obvious, but this is like the first time this has ever happened. So at the time, this was like a stroke of genius that would go on to become one of the standards of marketing for the rest of forever. And from
I mean, like that's so true though. That's crazy that it was from Coke. That's wild. I mean, yeah, because I feel like that's like such a normal thing for us to see, right? Like, you know, you see pretty girls with drinks, burgers, cars, like pretty much everything, right? So it's kind of wild to like realize that that all came, you know, like it had to start from somewhere, right? I don't know. That's pretty cool.
a stroke of genius that would go on to become one of the standards of marketing for the rest of forever. And from here, they just keep going. They just keep putting more and more of their profits back into marketing. When radio becomes popular, they've got ads all over the radio. When TV becomes popular, they've got ads all over the TV. They start
But they managed just to stay relevant forever, for eternity. I feel like Coca-Cola is going to be forever a thing.
working with actors and famous athletes. Coca-Cola is absolutely everywhere. But then they experience kind of a setback because by the early 1900s, the United States government is really cracking down on...
You know what?
I'm running out of euphemisms for cocaine. Nose candy. They're really cracking down on nose candy. And this, in large part, is kind of fueled by racism. There's literally a New York Times article that I'm not even going to read.
Oh, or would be. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Okay, yep. That might get you in some hot water.
And this, in large part, is kind of fueled by racism. There's literally a New York Times article that I'm not even going to read the title of that goes on to claim that when a black man takes cocaine, he becomes impervious to bullets. I'm not joking here.
Oh no, they did not. Bullets fired into vital parts that would drop a sane man in his tracks, failed to check the fiend, failed to stop his rush or weaken his attack. What? Oh my god. Oh man. You know, like, it's so funny when you see stuff like this nowadays, you know, because I mean, I guess part of it's like because you know, like we know so much more now, but like obviously there's so much that like we didn't know, but this is just it's crazy.
Here's the article. So now Coca-Cola's got to take the booger sugar out of the secret recipe, but guess what? So does everybody else. So Coca-Cola isn't really affected and they remain the dominant actor in the soft drink arena.
I am invincible.
So by the 1920s, they're crushing it. They've got the entire market on lock and they're like, who do we target next? Let's target kids. If we get them hooked while they're young.
I mean, true. Like that's like your next step, right? Like how cereals and all those sweet treats and cookies and candy, you know, it's always you always got to get the kids, right?
Young, while their brains are still malleable and squishy, will have lifelong customers. So by the 1920s, they start associating themselves with Santa Claus. Now, fast forward like 20 years, all the kids that grew up on Coca-Cola and Santa Claus are now getting involved in World War II and have to get shipped off to war. And at this point in time, Coca-Cola is all over the planet, including Germany. Coca-Cola is literally Adolf Hitler's favorite drink at this.
No, was it really? It was his favorite drink. I did not know this. That's crazy.
point in time. But after Pearl Harbor and Germany declares war on the United States of America, obviously America is no longer going to be doing trade with Nazi Germany, so Germany can no longer get Coca-Cola. I don't know what you think.
Oh my god. I bet that's probably what it looked like when you couldn't have his Coca-Cola anymore.
And if there's already Coca-Cola plants in Germany, why can't Germany just seize the Coca-Cola plants and continue making their own version of Coca-Cola? Well, because the way this works is the raw condensed syrup that makes up Coca-Cola when added with carbonated water is all made in the United States, and then it is shipped all over the world to bottling plants where they mix it with the carbonated water and bottle.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's smart though. So then, you know, like nobody, like I guess like only we have the recipe.
It. So they actually don't know how to make the concentrated syrup because it's a secret recipe. So
Yeah.
once they cut off the supply of concentrated syrup, they can no longer make Coca-Cola. So these bottling plants in Germany need to come up with their own version of Coca-Cola, and they don't know what they're doing. So they just start using a bunch of food waste, like extra fiber and stuff left over from fruit, and they end up making a fruitier version of Coca-Cola that ends up being called Fanta. And
No, that's how Fanta came about? What? That's wild. That is so crazy. I had no idea. The crossover. Who knew?
this is where Fanta comes from. Now, back on the American front, they're starting to ration things, and one of the biggest things that gets rationed is sugar. So Coca-Cola ends up, paying a bunch of politicians and then going over to these rationing boards and are like, hey, Coca-Cola is essential. You can't cut our sugar ration. And thanks to paying off politicians and also everybody loving Coca-Cola at this point in time, the government agrees. So Coca-Cola is allowed to keep putting just as much sugar into their drink as they always have, and most other brands are forced to cut back on the sugar, making
Damn, that's pretty cutthroat though. I mean, that's like, I get it. Like that's kind of like effed up in a way, like as far as like being competition. But I mean, if by then they must have had deep pockets by that time, right? So you do what you gotta do. That's crazy.
into their drink as they always have, and most other brands are forced to cut back on the sugar, making Coca-Cola by far and away the best soda around.
Sugar! Eat sugar! Hey, they're not riding the white horse anymore.
And then
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
Coca-Cola has a stroke of genius. I don't know if they intended it to work out this way, but it did. They basically come out and say, hey, we support the American troops. We're going to guarantee that any American service member, no matter where they are in the world, can get themselves a cold Coca-Cola.
Oh, I love this photo. This is so cool. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, but I bet that went over really well though. I bet they just exploded even more.
That any American service member, no matter where they are in the world, can get themselves a cold Coca-Cola
I love this
for the
photo.
same 5 cents. We are literally willing to lose money on every single soda if it means getting these guys a taste of home. Now, Coca-Cola is supporting the troops, the American people love it, the government loves it, and Coca-Cola approaches the government and is like, hey, it's getting awfully expensive getting Coca-Cola all the way around the planet in the Pacific theater and the European theater. How would you guys feel about helping fund us build some more bottling plants out in more remote locations? So the US government and taxpayers essentially fund the building of 65 Coca-Cola bottling plants all over the world.
65? That seems like so many, especially for now. Oh, I mean, maybe not, but I don't know. That's pretty impressive though. 65 bottling plants. And I guess like everybody, I guess somewhat agree to it to an extent, I would imagine. But that's really impressive.
Actually fund the building of 65 Coca-Cola bottling plants all over the world. Now, this does several things. A, it galvanizes the support of this entire generation that they now love Coca-Cola because it was the one thing they got to taste when they were away from home for 4 years fighting in World War II. And two, it exposes the rest of the world to Coca-Cola because now the American troops are drinking it and they're giving it out to all these other civilians and all these other territories that they're occupying, giving it even further reach all over the planet.
Yeah. I mean, yep. That is actually pretty genius. I mean, they got themselves in like pretty much a win-win situation. If you can have your plants out there and now you're giving it to everybody that's there, that's in the US, and you get to give it out to the people in those countries. I mean, and now the whole world knows Coca-Cola.
and all these other territories that they're occupying, giving it even further reach all over the planet. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that Coca-Cola has just convinced the American taxpayer to fund their global expansion, while the United States military turns into the biggest sales force on the planet. So World War II ends, Coca-Cola resumes control of all the bottling plants that were captured by Nazi Germany, and now they have a new popular soda known as Fanta. On top of that, they're more popular than ever. They are galvanized with the greatest generation because Coca-Cola was the official soda of World War II. Time passes. By the 1950s,
That's so crazy how those two came about, like Coca-Cola and then we got Fanta. That's so wild.
because Coca-Cola was the official soda of World War II. Time passes. By the 1950s, 1960s, studies are coming out saying like, hey, maybe drinking caffeinated sugar water is bad for you if you're drinking 12 of these things a day. So Coca-Cola, wanting to kind of pivot a little bit, is like, okay, well, we should get into the healthier drink market. What's something healthy? Fruit juice. What's that super popular brand that was developed in World War II to help soldiers get vitamin C? Minute Maid. They buy out Minute Maid, and
Oh, they bought out Minute Maid? Whoa. I guess now that I think of it, I think when you go places and they have Coke products, you can get lemonade, huh? I guess that connection was never made in my brain until now.
was developed in World War II to help soldiers get vitamin C. Minute Maid. They buy out Minute Maid, and now they own that too. And this is where the psyop really begins, because as time passes, it becomes more and more apparent that soda actually is not that healthy for you. And because of that, the rules on how you're allowed to market and what you're allowed to say get more and more strict, particularly in marketing to children. So Coca-Cola's like, fuck it, I'm gonna find a loophole. We're just gonna spend $750 million and we're gonna buy out Columbia Pictures in 1982. And then
Oh my gosh. So they're just doing it all. They are like making sure that they're like on the map everywhere. Like everybody knows them. That is crazy. So is this like where the product placement comes in for like all your TV shows and movies?
$150 million, and we're gonna buy out Columbia Pictures in 1982. And then all the movies that come out of this major production studio are all gonna feature Coca-Cola in subliminal advertisements. Okay, you think it was a coincidence that Ralph Macchio was drinking Minute Maid at breakfast with his mom, and then when he's training in the kitchen with Mr. Miyagi, he's drinking an ice cold Sprite also?
No, definitely not a coincidence. I mean, I guess we're so used to it now, like when you watch anything, like, you see everything. You'll be like Lay's potato chips or Cheetos or Coke, like a can of Coke or a can of Pepsi. I mean, it seems like it's so normal, but like to realize like where this all stems from is really interesting.
A Coca-Cola product? Absolutely not. It's actually documented that Ralph Macchio was mad at how much product placement that Coca-Cola was making him do in that movie, so he tried to conceal the fact that he was drinking a Sprite, and Coca-Cola and the studio made him refilm that scene and show the Sprite for a certain amount of time in that particular scene.
That's so crazy. I mean, I get it. I totally get it, but that is so wild. And I guess when I try to think about like stuff that I've watched recently that's like supposed to be like in modern day or whatever, like yeah, I feel like there's so much product placement at this point in time that it's just normalized. But this is so crazy to see like where the like origin is.
Film that scene and show the Sprite for a certain amount of time in that particular scene. You think it was a coincidence that Ghostbusters and Coca-Cola marketed so hard together that if you drank enough Coca-Cola, you could literally win the Ghostbusters mobile? Absolutely not. The entire thing, all of the movies that came out in the 1980s out of Columbia Pictures was one giant psyop to get you to drink Coca-Cola.
I believe it now. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally believe it. It's all making sense.
It was so well known in Hollywood that Clint Eastwood refused to have any Coca-Cola products in any of his movies because he was mad that they cast Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid and not his son.
Oof. Damn. There's some Hollywood trivia.
Because he was mad that they cast Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid and not his son.
Idiots.
And the marketing doesn't just stop there, right? They are targeting kids all over the place. Officially, according to their policy, they don't market to anybody under the age of 13, which you can make an argument for with movies. However, I don't think you can really make an argument for that when you're putting your branding on a bunch of toys all over the toy section, right? They're on trucks, they're on Barbie dolls, they've got games, cell phones.
I like that Barbie doll and those trucks. Those are really cool. But yeah, that is true. Fair point.
toys all over the toy section, right? They're on trucks, they're on Barbie
Like that. Like she looks cool. Oh, I love that. I wonder if you had one of these, like how much that'd be worth now. I bet you could, I bet it's worth a lot of money. But these are so cool though. Oh, I mean, I always thought all the Coke products, or I guess like merchandise type stuff was always like, I thought it always looked cool.
dolls. They've got game cell phone apps. They're sponsoring kids' sports teams. They're all over amusement parks. They're absolutely everywhere. This PSYOP is so effective, it literally changed the global perception of polar bears, okay? Polar bears are not friendly, cuddly animals that run around the Arctic chugging Coca-Cola. Polar
They certainly are not. Nope. Nope. We have watched the videos about that. They definitely are not. But I do see though, if you would say like I mean I guess like kids from like or people from like the 90s and stuff, what do polar bears like what do you think of when you think of polar bears? I would say Coca-Cola for sure, and like the Coca-Cola ad like around Christmas time. So yeah, crazy.
bears are one of the most dangerous apex predators on the planet and one of the only animals known to actively hunt people. Buh! You're exaggerating, it's not that big of a deal. Buh! No, I'm not, and I can prove it, okay? Because by the 1980s, Coca-Cola and Pepsi were like at the pinnacle of their competition. They had just had their race to the bottom to see who could offer the product the absolute cheapest, and then a lot of people think they engaged in price fixing because they had a meeting behind closed doors, allegedly, and after that meeting, they both decided to take their products back to the normal price and just compete with normal marketing tactics.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, I bet there was a meeting for sure. I bet there was. People always be scheming like all this type of stuff. Yeah. Yep.
And what Pepsi did is they had the brilliant idea that they were just going to compete on taste. What they did is they had a bunch of blind taste test studies, and those studies showed that when you didn't know what the branding was, more people preferred Pepsi than any other flavor.
Oh, okay. So that's where that came from. Okay. I remember those commercials.
Coca-Cola immediately fired back saying that's not true, that's a lie. They then conducted their own blind taste test studies, and holy shit, that wasn't a lie. People actually do prefer the taste of Pepsi. So
That is so wild because I feel like there's always like that war of like Pepsi versus Coke, right? You got like people that are diehard Pepsi, diehard Coke. And I guess if you did do a blind taste test, like could you tell a difference, or I guess maybe not tell a difference, but like would you think whichever one, like if you were a Coke fan, would you think that Pepsi tasted better unknowingly? I don't know. Me personally, I like them both, so I mean, I'm happy to drink either one. Like I'm not team Coke, team Pepsi by any means. I'm kind of like I will drink both of them and be happy. Like I'm not too invested in it, I guess. But lately I mean, I guess I'm more of a fan of Dr. Pepper, but you know, that's neither here nor there for this one. But I will say if I had to choose between the two, I honestly like it would be whichever one I grab first. It would be like, you know, like that kind of situation for me. I'm not too invested in it. I don't know about you guys. Like, are any of you diehard Coke, diehard Pepsi people, or are you just kind of like soda and I'm gonna drink it type of person?
Coca-Cola went ahead and developed a new flavor that outcompeted the original Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the blind taste test trials, and then they launched the new Coke. And when Coca-Cola discontinued the original Coke and had their new flavor of Coke come out that was supposed to be better in every single way,
I wonder what the difference was between old Coke and new Coke flavor. Because like now we're obviously like we don't have Coca in anymore, so I wonder what they changed.
people were absolutely fucking pissed. The PSYOP was so effective over generations that it had convinced people that Coca-Cola wasn't just a product that could be improved upon. No, Coca-Cola was Coca-Cola. It was a fixture in the American community. It was literally like a family relative and you can't mess with it, okay? It would be like if a scientist was like, hey, you know your cousin Jimmy? Great news. I've invented a new Jimmy that's better in every way. And you're like, that's great, but where the fuck is Jimmy? That motherfucker's not Jimmy.
Yeah. No, he's not gonna play. I mean, that's true. That's true. I also think that like if you probably make a product like that people got very used to, and it was like a pretty reliable taste, right? And then you go and change it because I guess you think it's better. I mean, I can't imagine that would probably turn out the best unless it really was better, but it doesn't really seem to be like that's the case usually. It's because people kind of expect the same kind of flavor, or the same expectation of like every time I get a Coke, it should taste like this, and now it doesn't. And I could see I could see people getting a little hyphy.
It's better in every way, and you're like, that's great, but where the fuck is Jimmy? That motherfucker's not Jimmy.
I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real.
So Coca-Cola just takes an absolute beating in the marketplace, okay? People are furious that they've changed Coca-Cola. So eventually they revert back, and it's a huge PR thing. Like, they finally brought Coca-Cola back, and their sales absolutely skyrocket.
Okay, so they ended up reverting back to the original. I wonder what it tasted like. I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know when this, I guess I don't know exactly when this was, but I probably wasn't old enough, maybe.
PR thing. Like, they finally brought Coca-Cola back, and their sales absolutely skyrocket, which almost makes you wonder if the entire thing was planned. And if it was, it would be the greatest marketing ploy of all time, but we can't prove that. But what
Right, that would be hard to prove. But then I don't know, like I mean, how much money did they lose as opposed to when they went back? How much did they make? Because they'd have to probably make up whatever they lost, plus probably a whole lot more. But it's a good conspiracy theory, though. It is.
What it does prove is that Coca-Cola's marketing psyop over the course of generations was so outrageously effective that they could literally give the customer a better product in every way for the exact same price. And not only would the customers still prefer the original Coca-Cola, they would demand it. And you can see it again with the secret recipe. The secret recipe is not secret. It's literally on Wikipedia. Yet,
Oh, is it really? That's crazy. Okay.
Coca-Cola still has this like fancy ass vault with a palm scanner and an eye reader and like smoke and red lights and mist showing off where they hide the secret recipe. Everybody knows what the secret recipe is. All you got to do is Google it. It's right there for the taking, but nobody cares because it's still Coca-Cola. You could literally open up your own soda shop today with the exact same product as Coca-Cola, and guess what? Nobody's going to drink your shit because you're not Coca-Cola.
Oh, that's so true. Probably, yeah. Isn't that crazy that they had like that much of an influence over people, that you could literally do the same thing and people are gonna be like, this isn't Coke, I'm not gonna drink this garbage, but it's like literally the same. That's so crazy.
You're not Cousin Jimmy. You're not a member of the family. You haven't been psyoped into existence for the last 4 generations. Also, that's not true. You can't just recreate Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola has an exclusive deal with the Steffen Company, which is the only company allowed by the DEA to import coca leaves and de-cocainify them. So you wouldn't be
Oh, you can de-cocainify them. Okay. So that's still in there, that we just don't get the party effects.
allowed to get de-cocained coca leaves to put in your drink anyways. But my point still stands. Even if we lived in magical fairy tale land where you could get the coca leaves and you could somehow make the exact same product and somehow magically sell it for the exact same price despite Coca-Cola's overwhelming manufacturing and distribution capabilities, you would still fail outrageously for no reason other than the fact you're not Coca-Cola, because they have the greatest psyop of all time on their.
So what does Pepsi use then? I wonder, like, what's in Pepsi? Because, like, honestly, they taste very similar. So I wonder what the little differences between Coke and Pepsi.
Their side, and they will always win because of it. And we know this because there have been multiple times throughout history, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, there's always somebody coming forward saying, we found Coke's secret recipe in some old document that we found in an auction house and blah, 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 blah. And every single time Coca-Cola just comes out and says, that's not the secret recipe. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, huh? Yeah, huh? Yeah, huh? Yeah, huh?
Is it the recipe that makes up Coca-Cola? Yeah, it absolutely is. But it's not the secret recipe, because the secret recipe is not the chemicals and the oils and the coca leaves that Coca-Cola puts inside of their drink. The secret recipe is the marketing itself. The marketing that has gone on for
We have been brainwashed into only knowing Coca-Cola, and anything else is an imposter. I'm convinced now.
generations, and was so outrageous.
We've been our brains have been infiltrated now. Now you're never gonna be able to unsee it or unknow it.
Effective that it went from marketing into a psychological operation. That is the secret recipe of Coca-Cola, not the ingredients inside of it. And you want to know who knows this? Pepsi knows this, because there was a disgruntled Coca-Cola employee that got a hold of executives over at Pepsi and offered to sell them Coca-Cola's secret recipe, but Pepsi realizes that it's not what makes up Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's Coca-Cola's
No, she didn't. Oh my god. How? That's petty, bro. That's petty.
recipe, but Pepsi realizes that it's not what makes up Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola's marketing and psyop itself that is a secret recipe. So instead of trying to buy the ingredient list that goes into Coke, they turn that motherfucker over to the FBI.
Yeah. Get wrecked.
So yeah, in conclusion, Coca-Cola has the most successful marketing of all time. I don't know where the line is that separates marketing and psychological operation, but I feel fairly certain in saying Coca-Cola passed it a while ago.
Yeah, I feel like that too. That's so crazy, because yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's been like a lot of good marketing over the years, for sure. Like, you know, like, I feel like we can all remember really good stuff, but like Coca-Cola is so iconic that it did kind of, I feel like I've been brainwashed. That's how I feel. That is how I feel.
Logical operation, but I feel fairly certain in saying Coca-Cola passed it a while ago. Coca-Cola's marketing is so good, they literally took a Confederate colonel's recipe for his medication to help him overcome his morphine addiction and turned it into the most recognizable beverage and one of the most recognizable brands, period, on the planet. Branding that was so successful that it transcended being a product and it became its own entity, meaning that if you were to actually try to change it, you would be fundamentally changing what that product itself was. And in that, there's never been a...
That's so crazy to think about, that they became that big and that influential and like that much of an icon that you couldn't, like, you just can't do, like you would never be able to change it. That's so crazy.
Fundamentally changing what that product itself was. And in that, there's never been a better demonstration of how overwhelmingly effective just marketing can be. Marketing can be so effective that it is the secret recipe. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
This was great. I really like him a lot. He does such a good job. Here we go. Well, that was craziness, and I am here for it. That was a great video. I mean, I know the food industry world is wild. I've watched some things about like Hershey and Mars. Like, I think it was like Hershey and Mars go after each other, and so, I don't know. It is like the food industry is crazy. You want to talk about like crazy drama and crazy stories, like food industry stuff? Wild. This is great. I love this. He did such a good job. Be sure to go like and subscribe to him as well, because he does some great videos. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys being here. And thank you so much for all of our new followers and our subscribers and everything. I really appreciate everybody that's new. And I just want to thank you guys a lot. It really means a lot to me. And I've been liking adding these food history type videos, and I find them really fascinating and interesting. So thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.